The failure of the Galaxy Note 7 presents an opportunity for rival OEMs, but can Huawei take advantage? Is partnering with Porsche Design enough for the Mate 9 to take the market by storm? What's going on, guys? It's Nirave, and this is our review of the regular and Porsche Design Mate 9. The design of the regular Mate 9 may be largely unchanged from last year, but it does bring with it further refinement. The smaller, more compact profile provides a much better in-hand experience, while the curved unibody is finished with a soft-feeling aluminium. The result is a smartphone that doesn't feel as large as you'd expect. Considering the 5.9-inch display, the Mate 9 is roughly the same size as both the iPhone 7 Plus and the Google Nexus 6P, which both have smaller displays. The button arrangement is familiar as well, with power and volume keys on the right, a dual SIM tray on the left, USB-C port, and one of the dual speakers at the bottom. You'll also find the headphone jack and the IR blaster up top. The dual speaker at the bottom is joined by a second speaker in the earpiece, and let me tell you, these are some really loud speakers. On the back, both devices have a Leica branded dual camera, but the similarities stop there, as while the regular Mate 9 has its fingerprint scanner on the back, the Porsche Design variant moves it to the front beneath the display. In its stead comes a Porsche Design logo that is, quite frankly, a show of opulence. The Porsche Design version also trades a soft finish of the Mate 9 for a pitch black anodized metal that looks striking and shimmers in the light, but it does attract a lot more fingerprints. While the design of the Mate 9 may not be revolutionary, it does represent another year of refinement for Huawei. The Mate 9 is great in the hand, and Huawei is showing that it is possible to make a big phone that is friendly in the hand. The regular Mate 9 has a full HD screen, whilst the Porsche Design model has a smaller 5.5-inch QHD AMOLED panel. Looking at the spec sheet, it would be easy to be disappointed in the resolution of the regular Mate 9, but this doesn't tell the whole picture. The display has a high contrast ratio and a brightness of over 600 nits, which helps shield the fact that it's not actually an AMOLED panel. By comparison, the max brightness of the Porsche Design is just 337 nits, making it a lot less impressive than its counterpart or last year's Mate 8. Running both phones through our testing lab reveals they both ship with a cool display out of the box, although it is rather simple to change this in the settings. The Porsche Design is more accurate than the regular Mate 9 screen by default, and both also come with a blue light filter, which works as you might expect. The Porsche Design Mate 9 aside, Huawei is stuck to its guns about not sacrificing battery life for a higher resolution display. And the Mate 9 is a shining example of why this is actually a wise choice. Yes, it would have been nice to have QHD on a panel this big, but this regular Mate 9 screen is fantastic nonetheless. So what happens when you put a full HD display and a 4000 mAh battery inside the same phone? As you might expect, you get excellent battery life. Using our custom Android Authority battery testing app, we found the Mate 9 can last for 5 hours and 12 minutes on a full charge when gaming, while the Porsche Design version lasts for 4 hours and 34 minutes. For video playback, the Mate 9 lasts for 14 hours and 12 minutes, whilst the Porsche Design taps out at 10 hours and 36 minutes, while in our web browsing test, the Mate 9 lasts for 14 hours and 4 minutes, versus 11 hours and 28 minutes for the Porsche Design variant. In actual use, you can expect the regular Mate 9 to easily last 2 days with heavy usage, which translates to between 5 and 8 hours of screen on time. For those more interested in the Porsche Design, this drops to between 4 and 7 hours on a single charge. For the times when it is getting low, both devices come with Huawei's new 9V 4.5 amp fast charging solution dubbed Supercharge. When using the bundled wall or car supercharger, your battery can go from empty to 55% in 1 hour. To charge to full, the Mate 9 takes 89 minutes, whilst the Porsche Design version takes 111 minutes. Huawei also says that thanks to a chip inside the supercharger, which constantly communicates with your smartphone, the Mate 9 won't overheat and can run up to 25% cooler than other smartphones. Both versions of the Mate 9 are powered by the new Kirin 960 chipset, which combines the latest Cortex A73 processors from ARM with the latest GPU from Mali. The Kirin 960 is the first phone to run the new Mali G71 MP8 GPU, which is also expected to power the Galaxy S8 next year. Huawei's Kirin chipsets have always offered excellent performance, but have severely struggled in the graphics department. But the Kirin 960 puts an end to that. Whether it's in gaming, video playback, or general use, the processing package just flies, and we're yet to experience a drop frame or any really noticeable lag. with 4GB of RAM and 64GB of external storage inside the regular Mate 9, and 6GB of RAM and 256GB of non-expandable storage in the Porsche design version, there's plenty of grunt under the hood, and both handsets are capable of pretty much handling anything you throw at them. Yes, the 6GB of RAM on the Porsche design version does provide a slightly smoother experience, but the regular Mate 9 is certainly no slouch, and has around 2.5GB of RAM free with no applications running. The benchmark performance also lives up to the real world experience, with the Kirin 960 proving to be a very capable processor. The improvement in the graphics is particularly noticeable, with the Mali GPU living up to Huawei's claims of an 8 times increase in graphics performance over previous years. Both devices also come with a lightning fast fingerprint sensor, although the one on the Mate 9 is considerably faster than the front mounted sensor on the Porsche design. Other noticeable hardware includes an array of sensors and connectivity options, including NFC, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and an infrared port. The dual SIM card slot on the regular Mate 9 allows you to use either 2 SIM cards or a SIM and a microSD card slot, with EMUI providing several granular controls over how the 2 SIM cards work together. Call quality is fantastic, especially as the Mate 9 eliminates ambient noise when you raise your phone to your ear during a call. Both handsets come equipped with a second generation Leica branded dual camera, which brings some tweaks and enhancements over the ones found in the Huawei P9 and Huawei P9 Plus. The camera experience is centered around a 12 megapixel RGB sensor with optical image stabilization, which captures colors, and a secondary 20 megapixel monochrome sensor that captures additional detail. The larger secondary camera means you're able to capture images with an impressive bokeh effect, whether close up or further away. In the right conditions, you're able to take images that top the portrait mode and photosphere effects found on both the iPhone 7 Plus and the Pixel XL respectively. Overall image quality from the Mate 9's dual camera is impressive. In daylight, you get images that are crisp and full of detail with colours that are more realistic and less saturated than those captured by the Galaxy S7 Edge or the Pixel XL. Huawei's camera app also makes tweaking pictures easy, with Pro Mode just a tap away, allowing you to adjust the exposure, ISO, and focal point in real time to take even more stunning photos. In default mode, it seems to struggle with picking the right focal length, as images are often under or overexposed, but manually selecting the right focal point quickly overcomes this. Huawei has often struggled with low light photography, but the Mate 9 can take pictures that are seemingly on par with its rivals. However, though overall low light performance is impressive, the Mate 9 does struggle with slight movement, with OIS proving less effective than on other devices. The Huawei camera app is rather straightforward to use, with options for flash, wide aperture, and filters found in the viewfinder. A swipe to the right brings up the settings menu, while swiping to the left brings up the camera modes. Here's where you'll find HDR, and it can't be activated by default, which means remembering to actually activate it. HDR doesn't seem to be as effective as on other devices, so you'll end up activating it a lot less than you might otherwise expect. The front camera is an 8 megapixel shooter with f.1.9 aperture, which can shoot full HD video at 30 frames per second. For the most part, selfies come out rich and full of colours in good lighting, and in low lighting, the camera does a good job of boosting the ISO to let more light in. For the most part, the camera on the Mate 9 doesn't seem to disappoint, and it seems to be on par with most Android flagships. It's not perfect, no phone is after all, but the Mate 9 is capable of taking pictures which you'll be proud to share. Look at past Huawei phones and there's a single trend that's come to pretty much define Huawei's mobile efforts up until now. Great hardware, not so good software. Until now, that is. The Mate 9 is the first phone to run the new EMUI 5 interface, which is based on Android 7.0 Nougat and the biggest overhaul of Huawei's interface that we've ever seen. There's a lot of changes, but the most important is that yes, you can now have an app drawer. With this out the way, the other changes are both visual and feature based, with the odd colour scheme of old replaced by a new azure theme with white backgrounds, faint grey accents, blue highlights and tones. If this theme isn't for you, of course there's other themes in the theme store. Android Nougat also brings some improvements and tweaks to lend to the overall experience, and it's nice to see that Huawei has resisted previous habits of overhauling everything in favour of a more minimalist approach with a few tweaks in select parts of the OS. Swiping from the top down brings a new darker notification shade that displays more icons than before and can be heavily customized. In the settings menu, there's an option to toggle between individual notification icons or just the number of unread notifications, which can be used to prevent the top from becoming really cluttered. Moving around EMUI 5, and it's clear that this is a snappy interface with bloatware mostly kept to a minimum. The launcher is fast, full of features and heavily customizable, and aside from a slight stutter in going to your home screen when you have the app drawer enabled, there's no noticeable lag. EMUI 5 also comes with Huawei's new machine learning algorithm, which aims to learn your habits and allocate more resources to the apps you use most frequently. Out of the box, the Mate 9 is a fast phone, and Huawei says the handset was designed to remain fast, with the algorithm using memory compression, smart CPU allocation, and optimized UFS 2.10 storage to remain fast, even after 16 months of use. Of course, we can't back up these claims, but the initial results are positive. What makes EMUI 5 easy to use is that despite a large feature set, it has been designed to ensure almost all tasks are only 2 or 3 taps away. Taking the settings menu as an example, it's been redesigned with ease of use in mind, and nowhere is it more apparent than the battery menu. In previous versions, it could be found 4 levels deep in the settings menu, but now it's a top level item. Battery management has also been improved, specifically in the way EMUI handles and notifies you about power intensive apps. Rather than the nagging prompts of old, EMUI 5 now discreetly notifies you in the notification menu and makes it pretty easy to close these apps within a tap or two. If you'd rather close all apps when you turn off the screen, this is also possible, as is the ability to select individual apps to automatically close. A feature that I found particularly useful is Twin App, which allows you to run 2 instances of a single account app on your phone. Given the dual SIM nature of the Mate 9, being able to run WhatsApp on 2 accounts is particularly useful, while if you've got 2 Facebook accounts, this is also possible. The curved display on the Porsche design Mate 9 doesn't have any special software benefits like the Galaxy's, and instead the only difference is the way you navigate the phone. Rather than on-screen keys, you have 2 capacitive keys flanking the home button, and while you can turn these off and use gestures on the sensor to navigate the phone, we'd recommend you don't, as it doesn't work that well. We wish there was an option for on-screen navigation, but the capacitive keys seem to do the job well enough. Overall, the Mate 9 isn't a revolutionary upgrade over its predecessor, nor is it going to appeal to everyone, but it does excel in the areas that Huawei intended it to: battery, performance, and camera. Compared to previous phones, even as recently as the Huawei P9 this year, there were several things which deterred people from buying a Huawei phone. These have now been fixed, and in EMUI 5, Huawei now has an interface that is smooth, feature-rich, and up there with the very best of them. All things considered, the Mate 9 is probably the best big screen Android smartphone you can buy right now. At a cost of €699, it's certainly not cheap, but it does offer great value for money. At €1,399, however, the Porsche design does not. The Porsche design Mate 9 is arguably the flagship the Mate 9 should have been, and it's actually available at a lower price sans the Porsche design branding as the Mate 9 Pro. That being said, the regular Mate 9 is a joy to use. If you're after a big smartphone that offers exceptional battery life, an intriguing dual camera, and incredible performance, the Mate 9 delivers this in spades. What do you think of the regular and the Porsche design Huawei Mate 9? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, give us a thumbs up if you liked this video, and check out the full written review at AndroidAuthority.com, where you'll find an even more comprehensive look at both phones, including benchmarks, camera performance, and battery life. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned, as we are your source for all things Android.